GM CEO's groundbreaking decision on electric vehicles signals a dramatic shift. Mary Barra, the CEO of GM, has declared that the company is done pouring money into EVs, and they're already winding down many of their ongoing models. What does this mean for GM's future in the electric vehicle market? Brace yourself for a seismic change as GM unveils its new direction. Despite setting their sights on becoming the top EV manufacturer globally, GM's ambitions have fallen short. They've struggled to outpace competitors like Ford and Tesla in the U.S. market, let alone internationally. The root of GM's problem lies in their constant lag behind the competition in vehicle releases and a persistent misreading of what EV enthusiasts actually want. Join us as we explore what this bold decision means for GM's EV lineup and the future of the electric vehicle landscape. Just take a look at the Chevrolet Bolt, for instance. It came out in 2016, a whole year before the Tesla Model 3, offered higher levels of practicality, a similar range, and was considerably cheaper than the Model 3. It single-handedly proved that Detroit could make great EVs that are also extremely affordable, and yet nobody bought one. Nobody cared about the Bolt's existence simply because GM didn't give a damn enough to make the car aesthetically pleasing and appealing to the audiences, and they didn't even properly market the car in the first place. Even after it proved to be a mistake, GM decided to update the Bolt in 2021 as they announced the crossover version of it, which was the Chevrolet Bolt EUV. This was the answer to Tesla's own Tesla Model Y, and then they proceeded to make the exact same mistake over again. It's estimated that GM lost around $8,000 per Bolt sold, which is catastrophic if you consider the fact that the average asking price was around $35,000 a couple of years ago. GM expected the Bolt to become profitable by 2025. However, that's not going to happen as the company recently decided to end the production of their EV Pioneer once and for all with the establishment of the new EV plan. At the moment, the final Chevy Bolts are coming off the assembly lines, and the remaining stocks are selling at significant discounts with some prices as low as $26,500, which is almost 40% off its asking price, making the car a steal. However, would you buy the Bolt for such a low price, or would you still avoid it for its ever-present uncoolness? Be sure to let us know in the comments section down below. Ending the production of their vehicles isn't the only thing that GM is doing to prevent further losses. They've also announced that they've canceled their plans for building new EV factories. So, with all this going on, we've got to ask ourselves, what does it mean for the future of GM's EVs? Well, the future of GM EVs might seem grim. However, the end of the road for the Bolt marks the beginning of a new era for GM's EVs. GM announced that they will continue producing EVs. However, their entire strategy will completely change compared to what it currently is. First of all, they won't close any of their factories as they've announced that they'll utilize their current manufacturing footprint as they slowly transition to EVs. They, unfortunately, won't build new factories either as investing in highly unstable markets for them most certainly isn't the best move financially. However, GM CEO Mary Barra announced that they will convert their current factories to build both regular vehicles and EVs. Furthermore, Jared Johnson, GM's executive vice president, revealed even more details about the company's future plans and manufacturing strategy. He stated that the company is trying to efficiently use the flexibility and the bandwidth to be able to flex up both EVs and internal combustion engine-powered vehicles as they move forward, stating that the total transition is expected to happen over time. Johnson also said that GM plans to invest over $780 million to build next-gen gas-powered heavy-duty trucks for both Chevrolet and GMC as they've abandoned their plan of achieving carbon neutrality. They've announced that they plan on producing regular vehicles alongside EVs for as long as they can. However, GM is not stupid, and they do realize the rapid rise of popularity of EVs, which is why they're fairly adamant that their EV lineup will start bringing in profits by 2025. They even went ahead and said they plan on selling 1 million EVs per year. Now, let's be honest, this is an extremely hard feat to accomplish, especially if we look at how long it took even the most popular of the EV manufacturers to achieve that number. EVs currently have achieving this is significantly easier than it used to be a couple of years ago. GM is aware that this challenge isn't an easy one, and they've already devised a plan that will allow them to slowly but surely achieve their production goal. Apart from this, GM is also going to invest significant amounts of money into the Cadillac brand so they can make it even more upmarket. To illustrate this point, they recently displayed the gorgeous $300,000 Cadillac Celestiq EV, which is a direct rival to Rolls-Royce's lineup. It's said that the car will have the most comfortable ride in existence while also offering a fun driving experience and a near-zero B cabin. Plus, just look at it. Isn't she a beauty? Oh, and while we're on the topic of Cadillac, let's not forget about their fantastic Cadillac Lyric, which is a highly acclaimed fully electric midsize luxury SUV. You'd be happy to hear that GM isn't planning on ending it anytime soon. In fact, they've announced that other vehicles will be based on its platform, which will give GM a significant edge over other companies that still haven't offered EVs in this segment. Now, this might sound like a good plan. However, making exclusive vehicles simply isn't going to cut it for the long run, as this essentially means that they'll produce far fewer vehicles than their direct competitors. However, their plan isn't completely flawed, as they have to start from somewhere, and attacking the currently unoccupied segments will give them a certain market presence and desirability to their brand, which they could eventually use to broaden the range. You see, attacking well-established models would have most certainly been unprofitable and devastating for the company, as why would you opt for an equally as expensive startup model when you could just buy the trendy and already proven car that has a solid presence in the world of cars? This is why GM needs to rebuild its brand image and make it more desirable before offering mainstream vehicles, and its current plan is most definitely the right way to go. However, there are a few problems that surround GM, and the first of all is the fact that GM is on a deadline. U.S. states have announced that manufacturers need to reach carbon neutrality by 2040, or else they won't be able to sell their vehicles on U.S. soil. When it comes to selling vehicles globally, the company is in an even bigger conundrum, as GM simply hasn't got the worldwide presence that it once had, as both the Europeans and the Japanese manufacturers jumped on the EV hype way before GM, so they have to fight on three fronts at the same time. They plan on succeeding at making their EVs as popular as possible. Plus, they sold their European brand Opel to Peugeot back in 2017, which meant that since then, they haven't had a proper footing in the European market, a huge mistake on their behalf if we ever saw one. Ford, unlike GM, is still ever present in Asia and especially in Europe, and their vehicles are being sold by the millions out there. Now, even though they've had a considerable loss of popularity and have been falling out of favor for a couple of years now, GM is still the U.S. largest manufacturer, and they're most certainly doing almost everything they can to maintain their position. And for now, it's going relatively well for them. However, even though they're doing their best to remain as popular as possible on U.S. soil, Ford is still way ahead of them. Unlike GM, which announced they won't be building any new EV factories, Ford also invested $10 billion in 3 all-new plants that will be EV exclusive, making their production output even higher than it currently is. So if GM plans on taking on Ford and beating them at their own game,